Hello, Pro Guides family, it's Dan coming at you with another gameplay guide, this time on skill shots as a whole. Watch this all the way through and I guarantee you'll have more fun in game because nothing tops the feeling of finally being that one PuDge that proves all the haters wrong. As always, our question of the day first, do you think there will ever be a Dota 3? I don't know, but Half-Life 3 happened, so that proves anything's possible. Skill shots are defined as anything that's not targeted and typically are a projectile. Later on, we're going to list out flashy skill shots and give detailed ways of executing and thinking for each one. First, we'll talk about mind gaming and tips that will be relevant for any skill shot ever, whether it be one that was unmentioned, comes with a new hero, or in any potential future reworks. The most essential tenet of a skill shot is to aim where they will be, not where they are. An easy concept, but hard in execution. Here's 4 ways to make this way easier. Setting up a bait location. For example, when I play Ancient Apparition and I'm sending Ice Blast from across the map, instead of just hoping it hits, I ping my team and say fight there. If your team fights where the Ice Blast is heading, that's a guaranteed hit. If you're Invoker and you see a close man-up fight to the death happening, just Sunstrike on top of the enemy. It's crucial you recognize that your teammates are like traps when you have a skill shot. Anywhere a teammate is can be a potential setup. It's not always just our team themselves, but any actions they perform too. Did your support place a ward and sentry deep in enemy territory? You can play around that vision, and when someone goes to deward it, that's your cue. They will stand still for a few seconds while dewarding, and that is your chance to land your spell. If you're fleeing a fight, flee along the path of your Mirana's arrow. Your skill shot is like a brief area of denial. We want to play in a manner that makes it likely your opponents will enter this area anyway. For example, techies. You know that fear when techies starts juking in the trees and you don't know if you should follow or not because you might explode? That's the same type of fear we can instill with any skill shot when played well enough. Disguising or faking the shot. Have you ever seen someone pretend to pass the ball in a sport and the other team falls for it? It's hilarious and it applies much the same to Dota. I'm sure you already know the basics of this one, and that's animation canceling. Press stop while casting your skill shot to force your opponent to react. If they don't react at all, then stop faking because eventually they'll just be out of range entirely. If they do react by moving closer or laterally, then you can keep canceling to see the effect. I laugh out loud when I see a PuDge fake hook like 10 times, but the opponent doesn't run away and instead tries to juke for so long that PuDge just ends up in dismember range anyway. Disguising your shot is the other part of this. That can be done the simple way by standing in the trees or fog of war, but those options aren't always freely available. You can disguise your shot with your regular auto attacks as Mirana, or you can shoot it through a Jakiro macro pyre in hopes that it blends in with all the particle effects. Any messy effect on screen is an option to abuse. Thanks to your help from the Sven Guide, I now have my online university degree and am qualified to drop this little psychology lesson on you. So, do you ever feel like you're an arrow and hook magnet? You see it coming and just walk into it anyway? Your brain may be very receptive to optogenetics, which means using light to control the brain and behaviors. You see shiny things lighting up coming out of nowhere? Your focus is naturally drawn to it. You can't always hit, but you can always have impact. We don't live in a perfect world. Crazy things will happen, and we will just have to hit a skill shot here and now in plain vision. Do not overpredict and send it wildly. Let's say you're a PuDge on Dire coming to gank the Radiant safe lane. You come from the river and are behind the opposing offlaners. Everyone has total vision. Do you A, hook right away, B, do nothing, C, run at them? Well, the only wrong option is A. Not only are you not giving yourself any time to fake or get set up, you're also actively using your skill poorly. Hooking them back will just take them closer to their T1 tower. That is where they want to be. Never use PuDge hook to take your opponents somewhere they want to go. B and C are both correct, and it's up to you to judge the enemy reaction to choose. If you don't move and you do nothing, your presence is essentially zoning them out from retreating. C is correct if they start to juke into the trees or hit you, or it's a must because maybe your safe lane is at too big an HP disadvantage to fight without your immediate damage. The other application of this point is to never commit your ability in a way that won't force suboptimal movement. Even if you miss in a way that forces movement back towards the danger area. If we assume they'll run straight, never shoot behind. If we do that, they can just continue running away. Make them have to stop and turn around to avoid your shot. This gives precious seconds for your team to catch up. Waiting for the setup. Even a skill shot god has to know when it's just unneeded risk to go for it. If you have a Faceless Void on your team as Invoker, why use Sunstrike before Chrono in a team fight? You're better off just waiting for someone to set you up. Be aware of your teammates' abilities. Identify after the draft while you're in Fountain. Who can I play with as this game progresses, or who can set me up? Even less flashy skill shots like Phoenix's Fire Spirits or Vino's Gale should be held back on at times when laning with a stunner. Okay, time for some hero-specific knowledge. First up, we have Mirana and Sacred Arrow. Sacred Arrow travels at 900 units per second. This means the average hero past laning stage moves at just under 40% of the speed of Arrow. So to put this in perspective, your attack range on Mirana is 630, so it takes 0.7 seconds to travel the same distance as your attack range. However, Arrow has a half-second cast time, so it takes 1.2 seconds for the first 630 distance. Disguise your arrow with auto attacks and by leaping immediately to cover up the model. If your teammate is locked down and dying, fire an arrow at your team and you'll likely hit because their focus is on the hero they're killing. It only takes 1500 distance traveled to reach maximum stun duration on Arrow, which is probably less than you expected since it travels 3000. PuDge's Meat Hook travels at 1450 speed and for 1300 units with a 0.3 second cast time. This equates to 1.2 seconds to hit a max range target. The tip of the hook has 100 search radius and will bring back the first target hit. The average hero has a 24 unit collision size and a melee creep has a size of 16. This means you can hook a hero in a creep wave as long as they are very close to a creep and not completely behind it. Your hook has an easier time hitting the hero because of their collision size or hitbox. Think of hook as a laser pointer of sorts when chasing. Look for key errors that reduce the amount of space they have to dodge. That could be running into a teammate, turning around, or going down a choke point like stairs. When laning, it can be good to hook around the range creep because usually that's where people are playing around, and if you miss and hit the range creep, it will bring it back so you and your lane partner can freely last hit it. When you do land a hook, hold shift and cast Dismember on the target while it flies back to you. If you do this, you're already a good PuDge. There's almost no such thing as a bad PuDge who does this. The difference this makes can't be overstated. The opponent will be chain stunned as opposed to having time to BKB or use whatever defensive cooldown. Clockwork's hookshot travels very fast. Even at max level, max distance is 3000. It only requires the 0.3 seconds of cast animation and 0.5 seconds of travel time. Translation, you only need to lead by 0.8 seconds at max, but more commonly less. The tip of the hook is 125 units. The biggest tip to landing this is simply not hesitating. The best clocks rarely hesitate on this, whereas Meat Hook and Sacred Arrow are frequently faked. If you hit your rocket flare and have a clear shot, just go right away before it's fully registered in the enemy's head that they need to juke. Always be aware of your immediate surroundings. This is very easy to get blocked on as well. Hook is also useful for fleeing as it'll bring you to any target. When trying to defensively hook if time allows, cog your opponent in with you, break out of the side they're furthest from, and immediately hook a neutral camp or teammate. If you were already in a creep wave, cogs even do you the favor of pushing the creeps away so your shot is clear. If you're in a short-range scenario chasing in vision, then you can cancel the animation on hook. The second they do any sort of hesitation like turning around, launch the hook. It's so fast that any hesitation at all will lead you to landing it. Invoker is chock full of skill shots, but the big montage maker is Sunstrike. After a 1.7 second delay, a truckload of pure damage is dealt in a 175 AoE. Because this is global and the delay is a very reasonable 1.7 seconds, the best way to use this spell is to take the skill aspect out of it. Or rather, it requires a different skill, the skill of map awareness. Identify your lanes with stuns and ask for some pings when stunning, or just move your map when you see what looks like a fight on the minimap. If you have any decent stun, there is little reason to risk missing this anyway. Especially now that Invoke has no mana cost, you best be vigilant and ready to land this on a stunned target. Okay, but what about when there's no setup? First, identify if the player is attempting to juke. Good players will try to actively juke your Sunstrike, but if they're just barely making it out alive of a fight, it may not be on their mind yet. Just multiply their move speed by 1.7, maybe 600 units. Just shoot 600 units ahead of someone walking straight. Watch out for any channeled spells. Any channeling opponents, whether it be TP or a spell, are free hits. Earth Spirit has his roll and kick. Both can be used for setup for the other. Boulder Smash, the Q, kicks a remnant at 900 move speed. The traveling remnant has a hitbox of 180. It has no cast time. The slow can help set up rolling boulder, which is best used with a remnant as well. If you roll over a stone remnant while casting, your stun duration, speed, and distance are all doubled. The base is 800 and doubled it's 1600. There is a 0.6 second delay on the roll starting. When escaping, it is imperative you don't let any enemies even 1 pixel in front of you. You will collide with them and stop rolling immediately. The key with these two is deciding which you're more likely to hit first. Usually you'll roll in first because the speed is much greater, so hitting it from fog is not that hard. During that stun, you can get a free boulder smash hit. If your opponent sees you coming, then you may want to smash first. If it missed, then don't commit your body rolling it. If it does hit, boom, let's go. Rolling boulder does have a tiny 4-second cooldown though, so you can use it just to close the gap, and even if you miss, at least you're closer so you can hit smash earlier. Shadow Fiend and the signature Yules into Requiem. So Requiem has a 1.6 second animation. Yules puts someone in the air for 2.5 seconds. This one will require practice to build the muscle memory, but there is a key visual clue to help you hit this. A Yules target spins exactly 720 degrees over that 2.5 seconds. So one full rotation means 1.25 seconds have passed. Yules the target, blink under them, and right before they rotate fully once, start your ult. Then go close, medium, long raise in the direction they get feared. If you aren't a Yules SF and have a Shadow Blade, hunt along creep waves. The animation is so long that it can be cancelled as much as you want. Find a wave that a hero is trying to farm, predict where they will stand for the last hits, and start channeling. If it looks like it'll be a clean hit, just let it rip. Only finishing the animation, not starting it, will break you out of invis. If you're truly dedicated to your craft, you're going to want to invest some lobby time to hitting your hero of choice's spells. You must be able to hit any speed target going in a straight line with 99% accuracy. As long as you know target speed, which is easy, just click on them, you know all you need to hit them. Adjust speeds with different items, heroes, and slows. Practice from multiple angles and distances. Take a look at your settings, specifically your map. Consider if hero portraits or arrows are easier for you to judge distance on. Most pros prefer arrows because it's easy to tell when a chase is going on by just looking at the directions of the arrows. Turn on extra large minimap if you haven't already. Maybe make the icons bigger too if that helps you. Remember what the famous Wayne Gretzky Michael Scott said, "You miss every shot you don't take." It's not about hit ratio as much as it's about hits made. Patience is a virtue, but good things go to those who hook them. Thanks as always for watching. Please don't miss your skill shot on the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of our uploads as they come out. Sayonara, everybody.